Shalom, shalom. How's everybody doing? Giving honor and praise to the creator and the maker of heaven and earth. Just want to go over a particular subject, and it's concerning the understanding that some people have saying that it is okay to rape or to be a rapist within the culture of the house of Israel. So we're going to sit there and dismiss that kind of ideology right now. We're going to go into Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 28. It says this: If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. So what this is talking about in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 29, according to some people's understanding, is saying that if a man finds a woman out there that is a virgin, he can just simply just physically just take a hold of her, lay with her, and then she become his wife, and without her consent. And so therefore that right there just goes to let it be noted and understood that that's emphatically not the case. Now I will attempt, most I willing, to show scripturally and historically how that in verse 28 and in verse 29 is a consensual act. And let's understand something. First off, rape in Israelite culture is an oppressed thing. That's something that happened with our people when we were being enslaved. You understand? So let that be noted and understood. Now, it tells you in the scriptures in Leviticus the 25th chapter that you are not supposed to oppress the children of your people. So therefore, knowing that you're not supposed to oppress the children of your people, it is impossible then to sit there and state that it is okay to be a rapist. So let that be noted and understood. Now let's go on, brothers and sisters. In Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 28, it says, if a man find a damsel, that is, if a man finds a female, because damsel is a female, right? That is a virgin, which is not betrothed. Now, betrothed is an old English word, basically meaning that she is engaged or she is espoused. All right? Or in today's terminology, she is someone's fiance. Now, in this kind of thing here, it is saying if a man finds a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found. And a lot of times people have a lack of understanding, no offense intended, who want to teach a rape doctrine and try to focus on the words and lay hold on her. And then somebody actually, no offense intended, try to go into the Hebrew to try to sit there and let that be noted and understood. And use one of their famous dictionaries, or that is to say concordances, that they like to use. This one here being the Strong's Concordance, without understanding exactly what the Hebrew says. First off, the Strong's Concordance deal in a lot of cases in what you call the modern Hebrew. So that's why when they sit there and go over that kind of thing, they'll use the qual stem, the nifal stem, the pl stem, the hofal stem. So I gotta ask the brothers and sisters who sit there and use this understanding coming from the Strongs, which is a misunderstanding because the Strongs don't teach that, by the way. Do you even speak what is referred to as the Shalamim Hebrew? Or do you speak what some call the Lashawan Kwadash? Because the Lashawan Kwadash that some brothers and sisters talk about is the Hebrew that says Ah, Ba, Ga, Da, Ha, Wa, Za, Ka, so forth and so on. The Shalamim Hebrew is the one that says Aleph, Bet, Gamel, Dalet, Hey, Waw, Zion. So if you're not abreast in that form of Hebrew, it will be wise to not even to attempt to even go into that. But not to be arrogant, a brother who has studied it, I will attempt to, most I willing, go in that particular subject and explain the subject matter right here. Some of the people who try to sit there and do that go into looking at the word for take in Hebrew is the Hebrew word laquak. And they go and say, see, it says, and lay hold her and take her, and lay hold on her and lie with her. But the word take is not in there. You understand what I'm saying? And the word laquak is nowhere in the Hebrew of that. So therefore, what they've done basically is just put things up like people put a meme up without any understanding of what in the world is going on. So that right there, just let it be noted and understood that something is incorrect. Now, let's go into the Hebrew of Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 28, so we can gain an understanding about this. It says, Ki yim za'ish, if a man finds na'ara betula, a maiden that is a virgin, Ashir lo orashsa, which is not betrothed, she's not engaged. Ut pasa, Washakab ima. Wanim za'u. So one of the key things to point out, brothers and sisters, is this particular part right here, where it says, I want to go in, right? Ki yim za, because, or when, or if in certain cases, yim za from the Hebrew root word matzah, to find, right? Ish na'ara, if he finds a maiden, betula, a maiden that is a virgin, right? It says, asher lo orasa, which is not betrothed, which is not engaged. Ut pasa, washakab ima wanim za'u. These keywords right here are very important concerning this kind of subject matter right here. The Hebrew root word right here, ut pasa. If you look very distinctly in the Hebrew, you see this letter there, the hey, it has what you call the dot within it. So it's showing you the inflection of it, that it's a strong force of it. That's how you know it's speaking in the feminine. All right. The root of this is tapas. Now, brothers and sisters, let's understand the root word tapas, right? Means, according to the same Strong's dictionary that they like to go into, in the Hebrew side, we're going to go where it says tapaset, right? 8610 on page 154 in the Strong's Concordance. And here is what it says under the definition of tapas, so we can gain an understanding, all right, concerning this. Tapas, and we read as follows. The root, to manipulate, to seize, chiefly to capture, to wield. Now, what is the definition of manipulate and to wield and to capture? So what is the definition of that? And remember, we're speaking about not trying to be racial, a people of color that's actually in the scriptures. So let's sit back and see exactly what this particular portion right here is talking about from the Hebrew understanding. When it says to manipulate, the word manipulate, according to the dictionary, if we care to go there, all right, so we can sit there and see what it says. It says manipulate, to handle, to manage, or use, especially with skill, and some process of treatment or performance. To manipulate a tractor. Number 2, to manage or influence by artful skill. So now, if we're using, like many brothers and sisters do, the definitions that we get out of the Strong's Concordance, and it uses the root word tapas, meaning to manipulate or to wield, what are we talking about? He did, in modern terminologies, with the female, what you call running that game. If you want to use those kind of terminologies, he knew how to woo her in order to get sex out of from her. He had her twisted, you might say, in these kind of words. So now what it's saying in the scriptures is that if a man does that and has her manipulated, not against her will, not forced by taking her like a captive and, you know, like was done to black women in slavery and so forth and so on. No, that's not what the scriptures is saying. You understand what I'm saying? If he manipulates her in the mind, and we got to remember we're speaking about this as a people of color. And also remember that Leviticus says that we're not supposed to oppress our people. So now, taking all of that and knowing that the scriptures all line upon line and precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, we then know good and well and understand, brothers and sisters, that this is not talking about a physical force of rape. It is talking about he manipulated the situation and he wielded her mind. You understand? It says if this particular thing happens to that woman and she is a virgin, that man has to sit there and give her father 50 shekels of silver, and he can never divorce her for the rest of his life. And that is what verse 29 is talking about in that particular aspect. So now let's go over this one more time. Deuteronomy chapter 22 verse 28 says, if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, meaning that he finds a female, a damsel, a woman of a particular age. Generally speaking, when you go in certain dictionaries, they'll tell you about marriageable age, about 18, 19, so forth and so on, right? Which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found. Now let's understand something about the other root word that's very important concerning this. and it says this, right? We already went over that word tapas, right? Tapas, tapas ti, tapas ta, so forth and so on. When it says utapasa, that's the actual pronunciation of that word right there. Utpasa. And he manipulated her and he wielded her. You understand? With Shakab Ima, and he lays with her with Nim Za'u. Now, the Hebrew root word of this is the word matzah. That's the root, right? To find. Mem Zadeh Aleph. It is called the Lamed Aleph form of verbs when you're dealing with the Shalamim Hebrew. Now, Nimza is the Nif'al stem, to be found. So that means it says, if a man finds a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found. Now, let's notice something. It says, and they be found. The question I have is, what does it mean when it says, and they be found? Either she became impregnated and she couldn't hide it, so now she just got to sit there and say, yes, I was intimate, and so forth and so on. That's one aspect. Or they just actually, somebody walked in and caught them within the act. Meaning, when it says, and they be found, that's very important. Because that means that whatever they did, consensually, mind you, they try to keep that on the down low, and they got exposed. You understand? It says that man, he cannot divorce her for the rest of his life, and he has to give unto her father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall become his wife. Because she was being, and him were found. Either she became impregnated by the act. That's how that's one way to find out if a female is having sex, or they actually got caught and busted, you may say, in the actual act. That right there is very important. Now I want to sit there and validate my stance concerning this kind of matter, and it goes as this. In Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 24, this is speaking about a virgin that is betrothed, right? It says, then you shall bring them out of the gate of the city, and you shall stone them with stones, that they die. The damsel, because she cried not, being in the city, and the man, because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. So thou shalt put away the evil from among you. Now, in verse 27, it says, concerning this, now I'm reading, is concerning the woman that is being made to be forced, rape style, to have sex and everything like that, like against her will. You understand? And it says in verse 27, if they be found or if he found her in the field and she cried out. This is what it says concerning this. For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. So if you notice something, and if you're reading from verse 23 all the way down to verse 29, there's a certain pattern that follows. Verse 23 and verse 24 is talking about one situation. She is in the city and she does not cry. That's that particular situation. You understand? Then we have in verse 25, verse 26, and verse 27, she is in the field and she cries. Now, if you notice in verse 28 and 29, she is not noted to be in the city, nor is she noted to be in the field. It's not going to give that example because verse 28 and 29 is consensual. That's why it doesn't matter where it happens, because she was a willing participant. And that's why it doesn't mention if she cries not. Because if she's not crying, that shows you right there that she was a willing participant. So anybody who's teaching in the house of Israel or in the house of Yasha'Allah, whatever form of Hebrew you want to use, they call the Lashawan Kwadash or the Shalamim Hebrew, it is against the laws of the Most High to oppress the children of Israel or Yasha'Allah or Israel. So let that be noted and understood. Now, going back, when you read within this, in Deuteronomy or Devarim, chapter 22, verse 28 and 29, we won't go over this one more time, right? It says, if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found. Now, the key things, like stated before, I wanted to point out, is the part that says, and lay hold on her. That is the root word tapas that we were talking about. And when it says that in the Hebrew, it is telling you, you even go into the Strongs, it's talking about manipulating. But it's talking about the aspect in which he wielded her. In other words, her mind was already there because she was whatever females, whatever they want to phrase it as, girl, he had me like this, that, twisted in the head, so forth and so on, doesn't mean that she was raped. So let that be noted and understood. You understand? And then when you go in verse 28, it says, and they be found. That's very important because the fact that they were being found means that they were consensual. That's why it doesn't mention city or field or her crying, because it mentions that only when it's not consensual. Shalom.